Okay, we have a company that is producing cell phones. We're given this price demand function as well as a cost function. And for the first part, we want to find the maximum revenue. We want to find the maximum number of cell phones, which then we could plug into the price and then the revenue. So how do you find revenue? Remember that's X times P, so your demand times your price. So we have P, which is 600 minus 0.5x, and we can simply rewrite this as 600x minus 0.5x squared. To maximize, we want to take the derivative. And so the derivative would be 600 minus just x, because 2 times 0.5 gives me 1, and then subtract 2 minus 1 gives me 1, so just 1x. And to maximize, I set this equal to 0, and I solve for x, and that gives me my number of cell phones. Alright, so the price the company should charge for the phones and how many should they produce? Well, they should produce 600 at a price of, so I go back to my price equation, and where I see x, I plug in this 600 that I just found, and I get $300. Okay, so they should produce 600 phones each week at a price of $300. I want to find this maximum revenue, so I plug in the 600 phones into my revenue function. So that's 600 minus, or I'm sorry, times my 600 phones minus 0.5 times my 600 phones, and you should get 180,000 for revenue. Okay, the second part wants you to find the maximum profit. Well, remember, you find profit by taking revenue minus cost. So I plug in my revenue, which was somewhere up here, right there. 600x minus 0.5x squared minus the cost function, which was given to me, but you have to be careful. You have to subtract the entire function. In other words, I'm going to have to distribute this negative sign. So let's do that. I get my profit equals 600x minus 0.5x squared. All I'm doing this step is distributing, that's a comma, the negative sign. And then finally what I'm going to do is just collect like terms, and I'm going to go ahead and put this negative 0.5x squared first. 600x minus 130 gives me 470x, and then minus 25,000. Well, once again, if I want to maximize profit, I take the derivative. So this first one becomes negative x, because I bring 2 times negative 0.5, I get negative 1. And then 470x becomes 470. Again, I set this equal to 0. I solve for x, and I get my maximum, for my maximum profit, the number of my cell phones. So finally, again, they want the price. So I use my price equation, which would be 600 minus 0.5 times this 470. And I get $365 is what I should charge for the maximum profit. And what is the maximum profit? I take this equation and I plug in the 470. So negative 0.5 times 470 squared plus 470 times 470 minus 25,000, and you should get a maximum profit of $85,450. Number 1.